What's up, guys? We're back here in the garage, and some of you will recognize this is EvoMoto's DR650 that I put together for him some weeks back. We rode it out at Head Falls, we went on lots of supermoto rides, and then one day he was heading home from work, and pop, it just turned off, and then never restarted from there. And, you know, I tried to walk him through as much diagnostic as I could over the phone and whatnot, but in the end, it ended up back here in my garage. And so the thing that's happening is basically it won't start. When we hooked up my truck to it, jump started, it cranked a little bit and then it got jammed. So there's a couple of things that can cause that kind of jamming. On sports bikes, it's pretty common if you've been cranking them a lot. There's a very small gear that reduces from the starter to the crank. And a lot of times one of the teeth can chip off and then the starter gets jammed. Unfortunately, he took this apart in the parking lot and that wasn't the case, and it's very rarely the case on dirt bikes because they have a much larger, much stronger starter gear or idler gear, whatever you want to call it. So basically right now the bike won't crank, it won't turn over, so it could be something got jammed in one of the gears and we can reset it and have it work. Or it could be catastrophic failure. It could be a piston that's basically stuck inside of the bore. There's no real way of knowing until we tear into it. I've drained off the oil off of it, and next I think we're going to pull the oil filter and see if there's any debris in there, and then we're going to use my borescope. I'll show you guys how to use that. Take a look inside the cylinder, and then if all else fails, we'll pull off the case covers and take a look and see what's going on inside. So on the Suzuki, the oil filter is right here, and we're actually gonna slip the pan under here. But checking the oil filter whenever you have something like this is always a good plan, because the job of the oil filter is to trap any sort of pieces of metal that are in your oil. So if you've had some sort of catastrophic failure, you know, a gear's broken or a piston cracked or something, it's going to generate little pieces of metal, and you're going to be able to find them right in here. So the good news is, oops, we're going to replace this anyway, but this filter looks nice and clean, as did the oil that drained off from the bike. So at least nothing grenaded in the sense that, you know, a bunch of pieces of metal are flying around the engine. So here's problem number one. We have taken off these two caps right here, the timing mark and the crank. I took out the spark plugs up here, and we can crank it, but eventually, you hear that? That's not good. That means it's locking up. And we're in neutral because the bike rolls. So, and there's no compression because the sparks are out. So next we're going to do is we're going to stick a borescope down here and see what's going on in the cylinder itself. So here's our endoscope, and there you can see we're looking at ourselves upside down. This has a controller right here that can turn on and off and brighten these LEDs. And so what you literally want to do, and you can see the video there in the corner, is you want to stick this down the bore of the spark plug, and you want to take a look at the piston, which is right there. And you want to just rotate this around, and right there we can see that there is we can see right there is debris inside of the bore. So this thing's kind of hard to maneuver, to be totally honest with you guys. So next thing we did was we took off this side cover to see if maybe there's something going on in here. So this is our starter shaft, and I don't know if the key is on or not. Yeah. So as you can clearly see, the electronics work just fine. Now this bike actually has two idler pulleys. The first one sits down here on this shaft, so like that. And when you want to start it, this clutch free spins in one direction, but it locks in the other, so it cranks the motor in one direction, but the rest of the time it can just spin. And now, above that, connecting it to the actual starter mechanism, is this idler pulley right here. So there we go, like that. So the starter spins this spins this guy this way, this spins this one this way, and starts it, and then when you're backing up or whatever, it can free spin. The issue is that right now this is locked, and if we go gently in the other direction, we can keep going until this, you hear that click, and at that point there's actually enough torque here for me to break the flywheel bolt loose. So we're actually going to tighten that, and you can see that's how that works. Basically cranking it right now, and then it gets stuck tight enough. So basically we can't do one full rotation. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the case cover on the other side and see if maybe the clutches has something to do with this. Since the engine was impacting a TDC, I thought that, you know, before I go tearing apart that other side, I would check to see if maybe it was a valve interference issue. And sure enough, if you look right in here, you can see this is one of the intake valves, and this is the other intake valve, and this is, well, the engine's probably not quite at TDC right now, but you can see the other valve, this bolt that's supposed to press down on it is nowhere to be found. So it might actually be interference between the engine and the valve. But thankfully, the valve looks okay, so it might just not be opening properly with time. So we're going to see if we can find that bolt in there, and we're going to see what we can do about this. So here's the removed valve cover, and you can see the two missing units. We're going to set that down for a second. Here is this guy. And I found the damage. There we go. So that's probably why you're having all kinds of problems, because that's fucking destroyed right there. If you guys can see that right in there, you can see where that's just fucking broken.